Hey guys, welcome to Pellets and Pits. I'm Neil. Today is all about my very first overnight cook. We're going to do a brisket. I've done brisket many a times, but I've never cooked anything overnight on any smoker I've ever had. Today's the first time. Let's see how we do it. Before we get started, I just want to give you kind of a quick update of the pellet situation going on. Today we have Pit Boss Charcoal Blend. I get ragged about it all the time. That's fine. You do you. I'm a fan of it. I love my charcoal. I can't stay away from it. So it kind of like meets in the middle, okay? In one of my previous videos when we did the first cook, I talked about adding wood chips to the pellet smoker. I bought these wood chips from Lone Star Grills, from Chris, and these are the oak ones. I've portioned out 3 scoops because I'm doing it like a 3-to-1 ratio. 1 scoop of my wood chips, give it a good mix, and let me show you my hopper really quick. It is loaded, and that's what it looks like. That's ready to go. The star of the show, we have a brisket. $2.99 at Kroger's, fantastic price, $47.52. You can't go wrong with that. We're gonna do a quick trim. Just take all that moisture off there that you can to create a drier surface. I'm not the world's greatest trimmer, but I do a pretty good job. You're just gonna feel for that hard fat, try to peel it away, and slowly work your way around it. Anything that's hard or excessive, just want to trim that right out of there. I've got 2 piles of scraps going on today. One's going to be for smoked tallow. We can get to a video of that later. The other one is going to be for ground burgers. Probably one of my favorite. Just looking at the brisket like this, I've got a brown streak right here. We're going to end up taking that off anyways. So let me come through here, kind of even it up. Looks like it's actually been trimmed a little bit. Our edges are actually pretty thick, so I don't think there's gonna be a lot of trimming. A lot of times you'll see somebody come in and go like this on the corners, but the way this looks, I mean, maybe just a hair, just to say we did something today, but ultimately, that's actually a pretty good thickness. You wanna aim for about that 1/4 inch, maybe 1/8 of an inch. Get that mohawk off of there. Now that we have it trimmed up, we are going to season it. Salt, pepper, garlic, and seasoned salt. A little bit heavy on the black pepper, coarse black pepper. I've used it in several of my videos so far. It's kind of like my basic, kind of like I call it my Texas style. Just a good all-purpose rub. We're going to keep it all-purpose because I have many ideas to do with this brisket, and I didn't really feel like it was fair to make a brisket when you're only using about less than 1/4 of it for a recipe. So this is just an all-purpose.
Instead of like a barbecue.
Right. If I was doing this all for the family and we all decided barbecue, then I would obviously use a barbecue rub. Don't forget your sides. Don't forget the front. Don't forget the back. I always do the bottom side first. And once you have it all seasoned, we can start the smoker. I like to start the smoker after I season typically my pork butt or the briskets. Ribs or anything like that. Just gives it enough time for all that seasoning to set in, kind of pull some of that moisture out, create its own little area. Get the sides, and there we go. You find my outfit?
Yep.
Ignore my outfit. I went on a run before I did this. You got to be able to do something to be able to not pack on the pounds. Easy. Oh, hang it.
It's not plugged in.
I know what's wrong with it. There ain't got no gas in it. Smoker's up to temp with all that good fat. As you can see, I just put it in a pan. I just protect my pan with aluminum foil because I don't like all that smoke and residue built up on it. We will smoke this just like we do our brisket, let all that fat render out, and that can be our smoked beef tallow. I mentioned before, I love brisket burgers. I'm not scared to trim the brisket down a little bit more, just create more burger trimmings. Good burger meat in a meat grinder. It's been in the freezer for about 45 minutes. All right, all of our grind's done. It's been passed through twice. Just kind of give it a good mix over. Just kind of incorporate all that fat back into the beef. Roughly 8-ounce patties. I will have a link to this in the description below. I love it. We use it all the time. Great way to make trimming burgers. You can do half pound, quarter pound, whatever. And there is one patty. I'll just keep my parchment paper on there, and just like that, you got yourself some fantastic burgers. If you turn this over, as you can see, you've got bigger burgers or smaller burgers. Ooh, it's a lot of smoke. Holy smokes, getting smoked out by a pellet smoker. All right. Golly.
It's smoking.
Instead of stretching it out, make it thinner, I'm gonna push it together, make it thicker. I have a temperature probe right here. I'll be monitoring through the night. Golly. Set my meat probe right through there just to keep an idea on it. And while we're doing it, we're just gonna smoke that tallow. About probably 11 o'clock tonight before I go to sleep, I'm just gonna check my pellet hopper just to make sure that I don't need to add more pellets. If so, I'll add it at the time, but the next time you see me will be when we pull it. Here we are, it's about 8 o'clock in the morning. Definitely went through the pellets. So last night I started the smoker about 225, and that was about 4 o'clock when we put the brisket on. About 10 o'clock, I dropped it all the way down. I put mine on 210, but my internal temperature stayed right around that 200 mark. And this is what it looks like. I just took the rendered fat out. I just feel like it's got an insane amount of bark. It doesn't have that deep black color, but it's definitely dried it out. It's definitely been able to render the fat. I'm very pleased. I squirted it last night at 10 o'clock. But yeah, I did like 10:15 last night with apple cider vinegar. Woke up this morning at 7:30, squirted it again. Had to take the kids to school. Now it's what, 8:15. So I'm just gonna come around here, give it a good spritz. I've got 18-inch butcher paper, double layered. Just spritzing it to get it pliable. And then here's all that rendered beef tallow. I'm gonna go ahead and add some of it to it because it is extremely dry. I know some people are barky. I know some people like it, you know, like crusty on top. I'm more like a medium fan, so I'm gonna put some of that tallow in there. And I'm gonna save some of it too, so when we hold it for a while, we can add more. Remember, you wanna keep the fat side up, so remember which side that is. And keep it tight. Fat side down, fat side up, fat side down, and fat side up. So we'll take this, meet it in the middle, and fold it just like that, okay? Keeping this side facing the fire.
Is that the fatter side?
Yeah.
So what is the internal temp of it right now?
That's one thing I forgot to mention on this whole video. It was cruising about 181. I don't really have a time or method to wrap. Sometimes it's 170, sometimes it's 185. I really think it depends on what kind of bark you're getting. Sometimes I've done brisket with no wrap at all just because it seemed like the bark never developed. I think each pellet smoker is different. This one definitely has an extreme drying out. It's the first one I've ever done on the Lone Star. But I actually like that because I've never been able to get that from other ones. So when I woke up this morning, I checked it and I noticed how dry it was. I was like, absolutely, we're wrapping this one. So it's wrapped, it's about 180. We'll start probing it about 200 degrees. Somewhere probably, honestly, about 198. I'm gonna start probing, just checking, because you never know. It seems like it's a smaller brisket. And I think we'll be able to hit that magic number before 202. I think we'll be able to get probe tender everywhere before 202. I have no idea how long it'll take. I am going to raise it up though. That's going to make my inside of the chamber about probably 220, something like that. This is a long time. Long time. All right. Went down to a friend's house, cried on her shoulder, told him I thought this brisket was going to be horrible. So I'm anxious to see how it come out. He told me all briskets react different. I was never a fan of the probe the whole time. I never felt like it got tender. So we're about to see.
It looks tender though, the way you're unwrapping
Well, all that's got to do with that tallow. Oh,
It looks good.
Well, I mean, it's got some jiggle to it. Definitely got some jiggle to it. I kind of like the way that the bark ended up. It did end up a little bit more tender, which is what I was hoping for. That's why you do that beef tallow. I think the bark is extremely dark compared to what I was expecting. I guess enough talk. There's that muscle right there. So this is going to be the flat. Well,
I mean,
I'm gonna tell you one thing. When I first started this journey, I've done a lot worse. I have done a lot worse.
It's pretty darn juicy, honey.
Yeah, this is tough on this end right here. It could have dried out on us. Checking for smoke ring. Yeah, I think it's hard as nails. Pterodactyl. But you can see the smoke ring, you see that the fat's rendered. I just wondered maybe if it was just a bad brisket to begin with. Just not a lot of fat.
It's tasty though.
They're out there, honey, is considered the best bite in barbecue. It's like a whole different night and day to flatten the point. Obviously, you expect this to be more fatty. I understand. This one seems like it's a little bit hair overcooked on this side. Like I said, I'm never going to be a brisket professional. I just don't cook enough of them all the time repetitively. And I'm cooking on different equipment all the times.
I mean, that's darn good though, honey.
But I will say this.
Golly.
That's a fantastic base. This is what I was worried about. To cook it on the smoker that long at that low of a temperature, I wonder if that aided in the drying out process. You got to remember, it's still moving air through there. So typically I like to cook my briskets about 250 to 275. I just wonder if dropping it for 200 degrees for that long a temp, for what, 8, 9, basically we slept for like 9 hours. I just wonder if that had anything to do with it. The reason why we did this cook, and the reason why I waited till today to do this cook, because the daylight to dark, whatever it's called, just changed. So it's a horrible filming situation for us. I physically can't cook a brisket fast enough to be able to wrap and all that stuff before daylight ends, the way I like to do it. So that's why I thought, let's try the first overnight cook. The seasoning's on point. And overall, I just want to cooking it faster. I think next time we do a brisket, I want to try to emulate this same exact thing. Same seasoning, same size of brisket. I've got another one in the freezer. I'm going to start early in the morning, and then whenever daylight's done, we're just going to like recap and show you what's going to happen after that. I just wonder if keeping it overnight that long at that low of a temp helped dry out some of the brisket. I could be wrong. I know people do it, but I think what I'd rather do, honestly, if I was going to do another overnight cook, is probably set it at 275, let it cook about 260, 255, somewhere through there, and then set an alarm. Once it hits that like stall, then go through the stall, set another alarm, and get up and just deal with it, I think. But
it is good.
The last thing I'll say about the cook, extremely impressed by the bark. The flavor's there, the texture's there. This got dried out a little bit, but you know what? Even as bad and dry as this is still better than my worst. And so I think that's what barbecue's all about. Your progression, your learning, and all that stuff. So there you go. There's my first overnight cook. We chose a brisket. Interesting to see the results. I'm still on the fence of what went wrong, whether it be the fat inside of the brisket or whether it be just that low and slow. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to press that subscribe button, pound the notification button, share it with your friends. It's still damn good. Just not great.